So this is going to be about a little history lesson on the true story of Togo, Siberian Husky sled dog, hero of 1925 Nome Serum Run. So our story takes place in Nome, Alaska. Let me find the right here. Here's our map of Nome, Alaska. Let me zoom out so you guys can see North America, the states as we get closer in up to Alaska. Here's Nome. Up to the left, you can see a little modern day picture of it. But there's Nome, Alaska. That's where it's located. So some of you may already be familiar with the story of Balto from Disney. This was a really cute show, but it wasn't the whole story. So I'm going to be telling you guys the real story of what happened. Here's the map again. Okay, so the real story, Disney made another movie called Togo. It's on Disney Plus, and it goes over the true story of what actually happened. Balto was a real dog, but Balto should not have been getting all the credit. This dog here, named Togo, is the one that actually saved Nome, Alaska, with his dog sled musher, Leonard Seppala. Okay, so again, our story takes place in the winter of 1925 in Nome, Alaska. According to the National Park Service, Nome, Alaska is located in the Bering Strait region, just 2 degrees south of the Arctic Circle. Beautiful, but very cold and hostile land, especially in the wintertime. There was a deadly bacterial disease called diphtheria that broke out into the town, and it was threatening to wipe out the entire population of Nome. Which was really scary. There was about over 10,000 people that lived there at the time. In Nome, the first cases and even unfortunately deaths were of the town's children. The town doctor did not have the antitoxin that he needed to save people, and diphtheria continued to spread, and time was of the essence to get this medicine to these people who were still fighting the disease. The town doctor sent urgent requests and radio telegrams out to other major towns in Alaska, and he also sent one to the U.S. Public Health Service in Washington, D.C. He was pleading for new shipments to be sent to Nome because they urgently needed them. The situation was getting worse, though, because due to the harsh winter and blizzards in the area, shipments were not able to be delivered. Not by plane, not by train, not by truck, not by boat, nothing. There was only one way in and one way out of Nome during this time, and that was through dog sledding. So a plan was made. A relay of 20 volunteer sled dog mushers and 150 dogs were to deliver the medicine as quickly as they possibly can. According to the Anchorage Daily News, the sled dog teams would need to travel 674 miles of trail through the wilderness in some of the worst conditions imaginable. So, unbeknownst to these dog sledders, by this time, the rest of the country had already caught wind of what was happening. Here we have a newspaper page talking about it. So the rest of the country had caught wind of this developing story, and people from all over the country were rooting for these dog mushers to succeed on their mission to save lives. The good news is that they did, and the antitoxin did make it to Nome without a single bottle of it being broken, which is amazing. The final sled dog driver, his name was Gunnar Kaysen, and guess who his lead dog was? Balto. So when they crossed the finish line, the news reported that Balto and his dog musher were the heroes that saved Nome, but that wasn't the true story, although that was what all the news ended up running with. But everybody in Alaska knew the true story, and you guys are about to find out as well. So Balto and his driver, Gunnar, did do something brave and heroic, but they should not have gotten all the credit. And they actually didn't mean for it to be taken that way by the news either at the time. So the real truth is that it was a team effort. But there was one team that stood out above the rest, who made this journey possible in only a record-breaking 5 days. That's Balto again, right here. So here's Leonard Seppala with some of his dogs. The very far left dog, that's Togo, his lead dog. Leonard Seppala and Togo were already known throughout Alaska for being champion dog sledding team in the mushing races. Leonard Seppala was also known to breed the best sled dogs in all of Alaska. They were Siberian Huskies, and these were sought after because of their intelligence. Leonard Seppala was an immigrant from Norway. He came to the United States to Alaska during the gold rush at the time. He didn't get as lucky in the gold rush as he would like, but he fell in love with the Alaskan wilderness and he stayed, and he just became a dog breeder for a living, and that's what he did. And he was really good at it. So he's also a really good dog sledding musher. So Togo was not always Seppala's prized dog. Togo was born as a sick puppy, only to later get stronger, but also very mischievous and not very well behaved. Seppala actually tried to give him away, only for Togo to continuously escape and run right back to Seppala. Togo ended up showing how good of a sled dog he was, though, at only 8 months old, which was unheard of at the time. Seppala tried him as his lead dog when he was 8 months old, and it worked. And ever since then, he stayed his lead dog. Back to the story of 1925 Serum Run, Togo was already aged 12 by that time, though. So while these other teams during this 1925 Serum Run traveled 30 to 50 miles, which is a lot, Leonard Seppala and his dogs traveled 261 miles of that journey in the harshest and most dangerous areas. And he did it with his prize dog Togo as his lead the entire way. So according to the Alaska Mushing School, the weather conditions were harsh during this time. The temperature was negative 30 degrees, with gale force winds making it feel like it was negative 85. The wind conditions made visibility impossible, and so Seppala had to rely on Togo as his eyes. They traveled through what was called whiteout conditions, where you just can't see anything, and quite literally, everybody's life was on the line. And Togo was the lead for all of it because he's the one that could see. This was really, really difficult, even for an experienced dog sledding team like them. So after this race, or not race, but after they saved the town of Nome, they became legends all throughout Alaska. Balto and his driver became really big through all the rest of the states in America, but the people that really knew the true story in Alaska, it was Leonard Seppala and Togo became the legends, and people were just so thankful to them because, again, they did this trip, and the record for that journey was previously 10 days. Leonard Seppala and his dogs, with Togo as the lead, did it in only 5, which is insane. They went through, they took a shortcut, but the shortcut was extremely dangerous, even for an experienced dog musher. But they did it, and they saved the town of Nome, Alaska because of it. So Togo, the American Kennel Club states that Togo became well known across Alaska for his tenacity, strength, endurance, intelligence as Seppala's prize dog. People from all over Alaska came to buy puppies that Togo was the father of. And still to this day, in 2024, dog mushers from all over the world desire to buy Siberian Huskies that can trace their lineage back to Togo. So according to the Alaskan State Archives, the entire journey to save Nome, Alaska became known as the 1925 Serum Run, and today it's actually still celebrated and honored annually, and it's called the Iditarod Dog Sled Race in Alaska. So now you know it, the real story of what happens. Not all heroes wear capes, and in this case, they bark. And Leonard Seppala said this about Togo towards the end of his life. He said, "I never had a better dog than Togo. His stamina, loyalty, and intelligence cannot be improved upon. Togo was the best dog that ever traveled the Alaskan Trail." And there you have it. There's the real story of how brave people came together to save Nome, Alaska against insurmountable odds. Let's look at some more pictures. Here's Leonard Seppala of Togo. Here he is up in he's preserved up in Wasilla, Alaska, in a museum. More pictures. Leonard Seppala with his dogs. Togo. Togo's all the way on the left. And yeah, definitely watch this movie. I highly recommend it. Thank you.